We're not dealing at all with anything human. We are dealing with ancient extraterrestrial interactions with this planet going back probably millions of years, and this is another important part. In my own work have been whistleblowers that have been coming from a variety of directions, but the two most significant have been U.S. Navy SEALs. The entire moving Pangaea continent that we know as Antarctica, the 2012 SEAL got there by going in on a submarine, coming out, and said to him it was one of the most astonishing things is that they came out of the submarine into what looked like a molded piece. The other Navy SEAL who was there in 2012, he's the one who came in under on a submarine to this 2-mile deep entrance, and he said that it was astonishing that as they come out, most submarines, if they're that deep, there has to be some sort of a decompression airlock thing. And he said the whole structure, they came in on the submarine, and when they move, the walls move with you with light, that the temperature stays between 68 and 72 degrees Fahrenheit, that they have looked for the energy source. They cannot find anything that has wires. There's nothing that we would recognize, and yet, if it is 33 to 34 million years old, it is still sustaining a structural integrity with pressure. You have light that is moving with you. You have this even temperature. You're looking up at ceilings and there is no structure that is going up. And they are maybe 33 to 34 million years old. What he has seen with his own eyes, 2 miles down under ice, are hieroglyphs, 9-acre rooms, that the very material of which the ceilings are made is neutralizing gravity. That we are dealing with advanced intelligences that know how to take a wall, put in at the atomic level, programming. If this exists, why? What would be any possible reason for why humanity on the surface of this planet should not be told everything there is to know and show about huge architecture deep under the ice of Antarctica? Why?
The very top of the first structure that we entered, there was almost 18 feet poking from the ice. The rest of it was hidden under the ice. Each door was the same, anywhere from 18 feet thick to around 30 feet thick. And even though these doors were that thick and that heavy, you could take one finger and push them and they would open. There was no resistance whatsoever. The outside temperature was at least 40 degrees below zero. Once you stepped inside these structures, the temperature was an ambient 68 to 72 degrees.
What about the ceilings, hallways, floors?
It was lighted from the inside, but we could not find the source of light. It was a lime green in color. The walls were lined with what I call hieroglyphics, but nothing of hieroglyphics that I've ever seen in my life.
Could there really be mysterious structures buried at the South Pole? Structures built by an advanced extraterrestrial civilization in our remote past.
Buried underneath the ice in Antarctica could well be stone temple constructions. There could be biological material, remains of beings that lived there and could still be there. It could be the greatest reveal in all of human history.
I've never really believed in Jesus or done the whole church thing, but I think I've seen the stuff you guys are talking about here. I just didn't know what it was at the time. I was in the Army from 1997 to 2000, and I was sent to McMurdo Station in Antarctica. I was a helicopter mechanic and crew chief, and they had volunteer tours open for guys to go there and work on the helicopters there. When they asked for volunteers, a bunch of us applied, but only me and one other guy got accepted. The application process had a bunch of questionnaires that we had to fill out, and we had to sit for a bunch of one-on-one interviews. It was mostly just a bunch of questions about what our interests and beliefs were. I was sent to McMurdo Research Station in August of 1998. When we weren't busy de-icing the aircraft and working on them, we had time to hang out with the scientists at the research station. The military unit attached to McMurdo was small, and we didn't have our own separate facilities. We didn't have a PX or a media center. There was no chapel or chaplain, and we didn't have our own separate mail room. We just had to share the same facilities with the scientists and researchers. So over time I got to be friends with a few of them. They had two different kinds of ice that they worked on and studied. One kind of ice was the normal kind that we've all seen. They took cores of it out of boreholes in the ground. Just like normal ice, it was mostly clear or sometimes white, and it would melt into liquid water if it got warm. The whole area of Antarctica is covered in this kind of ice. But that wasn't their main kind of ice. The only time I ever saw them actually studying normal ice was when a film crew from National Geographic came by. The rest of the time, which was most of the time, the scientists were studying something they called sky ice. This stuff was totally different. We were never allowed to go into the laboratory areas of the station, because the labs had to be kept super clean, and they said it would mess up their work if they risked letting too many people in the lab. But one time, one of the researchers that I was friends with showed me a piece of sky ice. You couldn't touch the stuff with your bare hands because it was so cold. And it wasn't clear or white like normal ice. It was solid blue. He said that's why they call it sky ice, because it was the exact same color as the sky. We had to wear thick, heavy, going-outside gloves to handle it. That's why they call it sky ice, because it was the exact same color as the sky. We had to wear thick, heavy, going-outside gloves to handle it. The stuff was so cold it would instantly freeze your skin if you touched it. I don't remember what temperature he said it was, but it was something like hundreds of degrees below zero. Way colder than the normal ice that was outside. He had to carry it in a metal bottle that was kind of like a thermos. He let me play with a piece of it for a while. It felt lighter than a piece of normal ice of the same size. Like it wasn't very heavy at all. It almost felt like you could throw it up in the air and it would just float back down. But I didn't try that. And it was also a little flexible when I tried to bend it. It didn't break like normal ice would. And even for a small piece, you couldn't see through it. It was solid blue, right from the surface. And here's the really weird part. It didn't melt into water. When it got warm, because we had it inside, it just started to shrink. It got smaller and smaller, but my glove never got wet, and there was no water on the floor. The stuff just turned into thin air when it got warm, and vaporized. He said that was the reason why they had to study the stuff right there in Antarctica. You couldn't take sky ice back to America to study it because it was almost impossible to keep it cold enough during transit. It would always vaporize into air, and you'd have nothing left when you got back to the US. He said Russian scientists had discovered the same problem when they tried to take the sky ice back to Russia. So that was why they all had research stations in Antarctica. After maybe 15 minutes of handling the piece of sky ice, it was almost completely gone. Just a tiny bit was left. And my glove was dry the whole time. I'd never seen anything like it before or since. And that's unusual, because I've always had an interest in scientific things. I think that's even why I got selected to go to Antarctica, because a big part of the interview was about science and what I believed about things. So I really thought it was cool to see something I'd never heard of before. The whole time I was at McMurdo, I heard people talk about the wall, like that was a special place. It's pretty common to find ice walls and ice cliffs all over Antarctica. The whole place is ice. But it's all just normal white or clear ice. So I asked my friend where they get the sky ice from, and he said it comes from the wall. So I asked my friend where they get the sky ice from, and he said it comes from the wall. I don't remember exactly how he described it, but apparently there's a huge wall of sky ice in Antarctica. He said it was hundreds of miles inland from the coast. I never got to see it myself because I was only stationed to McMurdo. I didn't get to go out on expeditions. He said it was the biggest natural structure in the world. He said that in the 1960s, the US Army had a plan to bore a tunnel into the wall, but they didn't have a boring machine that could handle super cold temperatures. So they had a whole testing project in Greenland where they developed ice tunnels and invented new boring machines that could operate in super cold temperatures. Like, they did this whole big thing in Greenland just for practice. I'm not an expert on that, but that's just what he told me. Then once they had the new boring machine figured out, they brought it to the wall in Antarctica. He said that the machine bored a tunnel. I don't remember exactly, like 5 or 10 miles into the wall, but that they never broke through the other side of the wall, and that they still don't know how thick the wall is even to this day. And I'm probably not remembering this part correctly, but I think he said that at first, the floor of the tunnel was a solid rock, but after a mile or two in, the floor was sky ice. Like it was sky ice underneath after a certain point, or something like that. And apparently, the wall slowly builds itself back up after you cut it, because after a year or so, the tunnel had shrunk smaller all by itself. They had to leave the boring machine inside the wall because the tunnel shrunk too small to get it back out. And after a few decades, the tunnel was completely gone. Like that part of the wall was solid again. He said that now the scientists were trying to use technology to figure out how thick the wall is. He said something about putting earthquake sensors all along the wall, and that somehow you could measure the signal from an earthquake to see how thick the wall is, but he kind of lost me on that part. I never really thought about any of that after I left. It was really weird stuff, but I didn't think it was a big deal at the time. But then a few weeks ago I saw a map of the wall in Antarctica. Except the map was all flat and crazy looking, and it showed the wall going all the way up to the whole Earth. So since then, I've been trying to learn more about the sky ice that I saw, and the wall that I heard about, but I can't find anything at all. So now I'm really wondering if there could be a connection here, and that's how I found this group. So I hope that maybe some part of my experience will help someone figure something out.
The Simpsons might have predicted that we are living under a dome called the firmament. In one memorable episode, the Simpson family stumbles upon a deep secret related to the firmament, a term often talked about in religious texts like the Bible. The story takes a surprising turn during a baseball game featuring the Simpson family. When Santa Claus throws a baseball to a player, he hits it so hard that it breaks through the seemingly solid layer of the firmament and goes high into the sky. What happens next is really amazing. Water pours down from the sky, like a hidden reservoir above had been opened. Interestingly, the Bible also talks about the firmament. In Genesis 1:6-8, it says, "And God said, Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament." What gave me a truly chilling feeling was when I watched the SpaceX launch 2 days ago. What do you think?
Grand Canyon is not just an American sightseeing location. There are strange and dark secrets that lie within. Some have even encountered a gateway to a hidden world. In 1909, the Arizona Gazette published an article about an expedition funded by the Smithsonian. This expedition was led by a man named G.E. Kincaid, and he discovered an ancient underground city within the Grand Canyon. But here is where it gets interesting. This city was filled with artifacts from ancient Egypt, hieroglyphs, statues, and even a pyramid. How did ancient Egyptian relics end up in Arizona over 5,000 years ago? Is it possible that they had access to flight? But it gets even stranger. The Smithsonian seized all the artifacts and shut down any further exploration, which led to 90% of the Grand Canyon being restricted till this day. The canyon is home to numerous hidden caves and tunnels, many holding ancient treasures and technologies. Many adventurers used to report seeing strange lights and sounds coming from these depths. The Hopi tribe, a tribe native to the region, speak of sacred underground cities known as the Sipapu. These cities are believed to be gateways to the underworld, holding powerful energies that should never be disturbed. All this makes us wonder, what else is hiding in the Grand Canyon?
They've been hiding this from you. The Sphinx wasn't just a guardian of the pyramids. It's the key to a hidden underground city. But that's not even the craziest thing that was recently discovered. In ancient Egyptian texts, there are references to hidden chambers, saying, "Beneath the lion lies the heart of our knowledge." The Sphinx was carved over 4,000 years ago, so what secrets lie beneath it? This is where things get scary. In recently discovered papyrus scrolls, it's said that the Sphinx wasn't merely a statue, but an entrance to an advanced ancient civilization known as the Osirians. The scrolls specifically mention that the Osirians, who possessed advanced engineering and knowledge, built a vast underground city beneath the Sphinx to protect their wisdom and technology from invaders. However, once the Osirians vanished, their city was sealed, and the true purpose of the Sphinx was hidden to keep their advanced knowledge out of the wrong hands. This explains why ground-penetrating radar has detected anomalies beneath the Sphinx, and why access to these areas remains restricted. This is what they hide from you. Why are there underwater pyramids in Japan? And why do they look exactly like the pyramids in Egypt? This could change everything we know about ancient civilizations. But that's not even the craziest part. In ancient Japanese texts, there are cryptic references to a sunken civilization, saying, "The structures beneath the waves hold the secrets of the ancients." These pyramids were made thousands of years ago, so who built them? This is where things get scary. In recently analyzed ancient documents, it said that these underwater pyramids weren't natural formations, but man-made structures created by an advanced civilization known as the Anunnaki. The texts specifically mention that the Anunnaki, who also built the Great Pyramids of Egypt, constructed these underwater pyramids as part of a vast network to harness and control energy from the ocean. However, once the Anunnaki left Earth, their advanced knowledge was hidden, and the true purpose of the underwater pyramids was concealed to keep this powerful technology from being misused.
They've not been showing you this. The Bermuda Triangle is hiding a secret, and no, it's not what you think. Almost 3 times bigger than the Great Pyramid of Giza, there is a gigantic crystal pyramid under the surface of that region. Here is where it gets rather unsettling. This pyramid's material and behavior isn't like anything we find here on Earth. It creates powerful natural electromagnetic fields, which may explain the accounts of planes and ships vanishing. This is where things get scary. In recently uncovered documents from a government whistleblower, it said that researchers believe that this pyramid was built by an ancient, super-advanced civilization known as the Atlanteans. The document specifically mentioned that the Atlanteans had mastered interdimensional travel and built this pyramid as one of Earth's gateways to another realm. Due to the disappearance of the Atlanteans, it has since become unstable and has been the root cause of many mysterious disappearances. This explains why so many ships and planes have vanished without an explanation. It begs the question, where did these Atlanteans go and what happened to their vast technology?
September 1964. An Atlas intercontinental ballistic missile was launched from Vandenberg Air Force Base, California, carrying an experimental enemy radar-defeating system and dummy nuclear warhead. A disc-shaped UFO approached it. As the saucer chased and then circled the warhead, 4 bright flashes of light emanated from the unknown craft, whereupon the warhead began to tumble, eventually falling into the ocean hundreds of miles short of its intended target downrange. The incident involving a UFO and a U.S. nuclear missile has been revealed by several former military officers who claim to have witnessed the event on film.
How can you determine that this vehicle is not something that is being developed by a government agency?
This is an alien reproduction vehicle, and just to be clear, this means that it is based on advanced anti-gravity and zero-point energy propulsion systems. They are being manufactured by a consortium of companies that include Lockheed Martin, Northrop, SAIC, and other corporations. But this is not a jet internal combustion system at all. It is actually kicked in by a type of electric power source, and it then accesses this ambient zero-point energy field that is responsible for all matter and energy existing. It causes a cancellation of mass inertia and an anti-gravity effect. They do have superluminal capacity, in other words, faster than the speed of light capacity.
So this is a diagram that I made based on a sketch that Brad Sorensen did for me in rough form, and subsequently cleaned that drawing up and made it much more accurate.
Project Bluebeam. Can you describe what that is?
Well, that's another subculture term that's been attached to a series of projects that involve what the Pentagon, what they call a deceptive indication and warning, or a false INW, which is a false flag. And it's the ability to stage, through very advanced technologies, an alien attack or an alien event. And it's a whole series of them. Now, what most people don't know about, since late 50s, early 60s, like the Barney Hill case and all that, those were all human assets abducting innocent people made to look alien. And so that psychological warfare was authorized in 1953, 54. 1954, we mastered gravity control. So we started deploying these assets to begin to condition the public that there's a scary threat from outer space. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at Hollywood, Alien, Ridley Scott's, the movies. If you want to see a script for what's coming fairly soon, look at the movie Independence Day. Okay. It's right at a central casting for this covert group. So what their whole purpose is to create sort of a global militarized totalitarian superstate of the world fighting another world. It's like War of the Worlds.
Actually a symbol of freedom and democracy. Hello, I'm the Statue of Liberty. I represent Lucifer, the light bearer, sent to lead humans astray. My crown's 7 points. The 7 deadly sins I encourage you to indulge in. My torch? Lucifer's light I shine to misguide you. The freedom I offer isn't freedom under God, but from God. For centuries, I've been part of a hidden Luciferian agenda. When France gifted me to America, it seemed an act of friendship. But it was a Trojan horse, a brilliant scheme to insert sinister symbolism into the heart of the world's greatest democracy. Few know the truth, that I secretly welcome demons and pagan gods to the new world. Under my skirts, witches gather and chant by moonlight, weaving spells to bind the souls of this nation. In my right hand, I hold chains and shackles, not a torch. My face is stern not because I'm determined to enlighten the world, but because I'm focused on humanity's enslavement. But now you know the truth. Spread the word, before my evil scheme achieves its wicked ends. Be sure to follow for more eye-opening truths. What other theories should I share?
Conspiracy theory on the planet. Today, we will expose the truth on Dicenian glass. Dicenian glass is a special dye that is derived from coal tar. In 1911, a man by the name of Walter John Kilner developed a device called the Kilner screen. This screen consisted of collodion-coated, dye-treated glass plates with Dicenian dye sandwiched in the middle. In his book, The Human Atmosphere, Kilner proved that by using these 2 glass panes as wearable eyeglasses, the user would be able to train the eyes to perceive electromagnetic radiation outside the normal spectrum of visible light. Kilner not only proved the existence of the human aura, but also proved that by using this special dye you can pierce the tapestry of the 3rd dimension and gaze into the dimensions above. After Kilner published his findings, the United States swiftly stepped in. They confiscated everything and degraded the dye. Not only is Dicenian extremely hard to get a hold of.
You are looking at patent US 5149407A. This is the patent of the notorious water-fueled car invented by Stanley Meyer in the 80s. During a local news report, Meyer showed a dune buggy that he claimed was powered by his water fuel cells, and according to Stanley, it only required 22 gallons of water to travel from Los Angeles to New York. Stanley's invention used frequency to separate oxygen and hydrogen from water. A mixture of oxygen and hydrogen could replace gasoline. This served as an enormous threat to the giant oil industry as well as the automotive industry. This invention has become a notorious piece of internet lore because shortly after Stanley announced the invention, he suffered a deadly brain aneurysm. Stanley's last words was that he had been poisoned. What do you guys think?
The Black Sun.
Black Sun is rising. Golden ages and dark ages oscillate in and out of this realm. During a golden age, everything harmonizes and everything is in its original paradisal condition. But during a dark age, we experience a loss of this union and create environments which eventually push us back to discover unification once again. The black sun in the dark ages is not visible. It is split away from the white sun, representing our condition of duality, the dissociation of our conscious and subconscious reality, the 2 elements of ourselves which the 2 suns reveal. The black sun, being the processor and conglomeration of our subconscious, is rising right now and will meet the sun at the center very soon. And when this happens, the aurora borealis will fill this entire realm. Because we are microcosms of this macrocosm, the aurora borealis, this emerald green energy, is the green rays of our hearts, which never left the center. Extending outwards, the aurora borealis will fuse with our heart chakras, automatically propelling us to the center. The Rainbow Bridge of Norse cosmology, also known as the Bifrost Bridge, will be created after the heart is opened, bridging our lower chakras with the higher ones. This will let us ascend up the levels of Mount Meru until we achieve unification once again in Asgard. And it all starts with the black sun and white sun coming together. These are the two aspects of ourselves, the Adam and Eve, the night and day, which separate after the so-called fall into this dark age. In my last video, we talked about the projection system from the center and how this has been a collective dream we're experiencing backwards. We're still in the pleroma. The demiurge is an illusory construct that has no relevance once we're in the event horizon. The demiurge is us, and soulless beings are the fractalized expressions of our shadow selves.
causes the UFO-like stone. 250-million-year-old microchip. A Russian fisherman, Viktor Morozov from Belinsk, found a unique item carrying a supposed 250-million-year-old microchip, highlighting the existence of an ancient technology-savvy society. According to research by a Russian paleontologist, it's believed to be 225 to 250 million years old. The microchip was found lodged in a rock which probably existed when the Earth experienced its worst extinction disaster during the Permian period's last stages. Some experts believe it to be just a relic of an animal or plant from the Permian period. 300,000-year-old nanotechnology. In 1990...